Oh boy. Welcome everybody to another episode of LBFT. This is episode 20 of LBFT Season 2. Or episode 20 of Season 2 of LBFT. Before I get started on this episode, I want to say this. About a month ago or two, I announced, with an official trailer, of course, that there would be a 5-part Season 2 finale series of LBFT Season 2. A 5-part Season 2 finale of LBFT. Putting into 5 parts, covering the entire 2018 NFL postseason, including the wildcard round. That was my original plan to do. But then after watching the national championship game last night, watching the way Clemson performed against Alabama in the college football playoff national championship, I finally made something different. I have made a different decision. I decided to turn the 5-part Season 2 finale of LBFT into a 4-part Season 2 finale of LBFT. I changed that to 4 parts because I watched this game last night, and after being so surprised by what I saw, I really couldn't help but wanting to talk about this game. And I had to talk about this game in this episode. So I had to change this episode from being 2018 NFL postseason part 1, wildcard round reaction, into a Clemson destroyed Alabama in college football playoff national championship 44-16. So I decided to do that. Now, with all that out of the way, let's now get into this game. Now, I would imagine that most of you already watched the college football playoff national championship game, the Clemson versus Alabama Part 4 matchup in the national championship. But for the minority of you that hadn't watched the game, the Clemson Tigers rout the Alabama Crimson Tide in the college football playoff national championship 44-16, winning their second national championship in their last 3 seasons, and became the first team to finish the season with an undefeated 15-0 record since 1897. Since 1897, ladies and gentlemen, that is not 100 years ago. It's longer than that. It's longer than that. 1897 is not 100 years ago. It's 121 years ago that a team known as Penn went 15-0, finished the season with a 15-0 record. That was the last time a team finished the season with a 15-0 undefeated record. So that's the whole thing that happened. Ladies and gentlemen, my lord. My initial reaction was, my lord. This Clemson Tigers team was something special. They were something special to behold. I did not see this beatdown coming. I mean, Clemson was fully prepared for everything Alabama throws at them. A 28-point loss, the worst loss in the 12-season long Nick Saban era at Alabama. Nick Saban looked really lost in this game. He looked like he had no answers for some of those bomb plays by the Clemson offense. It looks like he doesn't know what to do right after halftime. Or maybe the second quarter, but either way, he was lost, basically in the middle of this game. Trevor Lawrence was absolutely phenomenal. He is special. 3 touchdowns. I'm sorry. He's really special. Trevor Lawrence completed 20 out of his 32 passes, passed for 347 yards, 3 touchdown passes, completed 62.5% of his passes, 0 interceptions, and a QBR of 92.8. He's very impressive. He didn't turn the ball over once. Not once did he turn the ball over in this game, especially against this Nick Saban defense in Alabama that we have been accustomed to seeing. You know, being that powerhouse defense, that big dog defense that is ferocious with forcing turnovers, whether it's an interception or a fumble recovery by the defense. Alabama has a reputation for having a defense like that, but not in this game. They were. Anyway, I have a few things that I want to say about Trevor Lawrence before I get into the other Clemson players. The first one is he had the most passing yards in a game against Alabama, 300, which is 347. The total passing yards he had against Bama, which is higher than Kyle Murray's 308, and Kyle Murray from Oklahoma, and Jake Fromm's 301. You know, Jake Fromm from Georgia. He became the 5th quarterback with 5 25-yard completions against Alabama under Nick Saban, and the other 4 quarterbacks before him lost to Alabama. So he's like the only quarterback that has made 5 25-yard completions against Alabama under Nick Saban and won. And he became the 3rd freshman in FBS history to have 30 passing TDs in a season. And last thing, he had the highest QBR of 92.8 by any quarterback in a game against the Nick Saban-led Alabama Crimson Tide defense. He had the highest QBR by any quarterback in a game against a Nick Saban defense. This dude is on another level. Trevor Lawrence is phenomenal to the point where he's so phenomenal, and so much so that he would be the number 1 overall NFL draft pick if he was eligible for the 2019 NFL draft. He is so phenomenal that if he were eligible for the 2019 NFL draft, he would be the number 1 overall pick. He would. He really would. I mean, he's that great of a passer. And let me also say this. The way he performed, he didn't play like a true freshman quarterback. He played more like a damn NFL quarterback. He played more like an NFL quarterback than he played like a true freshman quarterback. I mean, that's just what I think about that's just what I wanted to. That's just what I think when I think of Trevor Lawrence in this game. Travis Etienne, he's very good. 14 carries, 86 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, average 6.1 yards per carry. He was pretty good. But Justin Moss, 6 receptions, 153 receiving yards, 1 touchdown, average 25.5 yards per catch. And by the way, those 2 third down passing plays were incredible, particularly that second one where Trevor Lawrence threw the ball to Justin Ross, and Justin Ross caught it with one hand. And it was like, oh my God, that was marvelous. That was a great catch. And Justin Ross, by the way, was fantastic. 6 receptions, 153 receiving yards, and 1 touchdown reception. And again, those 2 third down and 9 passing plays were fantastic. And T. Higgins is no joke either. And neither is Travis Etienne, like I mentioned about him. T. Higgins, 3 receptions, 81 receiving yards, 1 touchdown, averaged 27 yards per catch. He's just that impressive. Now, usually when I do these LBFT episodes, I mainly talk about offensive teams first, early in most LBFT episodes, and I still am doing that. But I also rarely do talk about defensive teams at the same time that I talk about offensive teams. But this is one of those times. I mean, this Clemson Tigers defense, let's talk about this Clemson Tigers defense for a few minutes, because, oh my God, the way that they beat down Tua Tagovailoa and the Alabama offense, who I will get into in a few minutes, I gotta tell you guys this. This might be the best defensive performance I have seen in all of my 5 years of watching college football. I have never seen a defense that looked better than this Clemson defense last night. In all my 5 years of watching college football, I have never seen a better defensive performance than this performance by the defense for Clemson. 2 sacks, 2 forced turnovers. One of the 2 interceptions was turned into a touchdown / pick 6. And they stopped the Alabama Crimson Tide offense 9 times out of the 13 third downs, and stopped them 3 times out of the 6 fourth downs. This Clemson Tigers defense was on another level. I couldn't believe the way this defense performed. And I got to give credit where credit is due to the Clemson Tigers defensive coordinator, Brett Venables. He fully prepared this defense for Alabama and what they were going to do. And he had his defense prepared for them for weeks, even before they went up against Notre Dame in one of the college football playoff semifinals. What a defensive performance by Clemson. I didn't see their performance coming. I really didn't. I didn't think that they would beat up Tua Tagovailoa like that. Beat up this Alabama offense like that. It's just unreal. Unfreaking real. Now let's talk about Tua Tagovailoa for a few minutes. Because Tua Tagovailoa looked like a shell of himself in the second half of the game. Now, besides the 2 crucial interceptions, one of them being a pick 6, like I already said, he had a QBR of 21.5. Now, look, I know he passed for almost 300 yards, made 2 touchdown passes, completed 64.7% of his passes, which was higher than Trevor Lawrence's, and averaged 8.7 yards per pass. But 21.5 in QBR? 21.5 in QBR? That's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. I think that's like his career low QBR as an Alabama starter. It's pretty bad. Let's just call it what it is. He did well in the first half, especially in the first quarter, but in the second half, he couldn't be able to roll the tide over this Clemson defense. He really couldn't. He was unable to do what he wanted to do and what his teammates wanted to do. And one can argue that Alabama wasted the talents of Jerry Jeudy with 5 receptions, 139 receiving yards, and averaged 27.8 yards per catch. Wasted. And one can argue that Alabama wasted the talents of Najee Harris, Damian Harris. I think, wait a minute. I'm not sure if I have Najee's last name right. I think it's Harris, but if it isn't, then I apologize. I'll put up a name if I didn't get his last name right. But anyway, Josh Jacobs and the rest of the running backs and the receivers and tight ends. And one can argue that the talents of the Alabama Crimson Tide defense were non-existent in this game and could not stop the Clemson Tigers offense with Trevor Lawrence as their 6'6", 205-pound true freshman quarterback who really played more like an NFL quarterback like I mentioned earlier. And Travis Etienne and Justin Ross and T. Higgins and Amari Rodgers and the rest of the offense. It's just that It's just that unreal. And let me get back to the Alabama defense for a minute. Because I put down 3 stats that I want to bring this in this episode because these three stats are important to point out. And not many people are talking about this, but damn it, I'll talk about them, so here it is. Number 1, this was the first time that the Alabama Crimson Tide under Nick Saban have trailed by more than 21 points. 2, this was the first time that the Alabama Crimson Tide under Nick Saban have lost by 14 points. And 3, this was the first time that the Alabama Crimson Tide under Nick Saban have given up 30 unanswered points. If those numbers weren't alarming enough, what about the fact that the Nick Saban-led Alabama Crimson Tide defense gave up a total of 106 games in the last 3 games of this season? 68 points in the last 2 games of the season, and had a point differential of minus 38. If that doesn't surprise you enough, I don't know what does. Also, this is the 3rd time that Nick Saban and his defense have allowed 30-plus points in back-to-back games as the Alabama head coach, along with the Alabama Crimson Tide's 16-game winning streak being snapped by Clemson in this game. Just to keep both of those things in mind. Furthermore, the last game that Nick Saban lost by more than 14 points was the December 17, 2006 game against the Buffalo Bills when he was the head coach for the Miami Dolphins, and he got shut out by the Bills 21-0. And by the way, 2006 was also the year that Twitter was born, in case you guys didn't know that. And let me also bring this out. Within the first 4 minutes and 25 seconds of the game, Clemson led Alabama 14-7. And then look at Alabama. They have outscored their opponents 99-7 in the first 5 minutes of a game this season. That's also something to keep in mind. Combine that with the fact that Clemson is 51-0 when leading by 15 plus points at halftime, which is the most wins without a loss by any team during that span. That's very impressive to see from the Clemson Tigers. And here's the kicker. Alabama became the 9th out of the last 10 opponents to be held by Clemson to 16 points or fewer this football season. Let that sink in for a minute, because the only opponent, a team that scored the most points against the Clemson Tigers this year, was their in-state arch rivals, the South Carolina Gamecocks, with 35 points. That was the most points that Clemson has ever gave up this 2018 college football season. And lastly, Clemson's blowout win against Alabama is tied with the 2013 Alabama blowout 28-point win against Notre Dame for the second largest margin of victory in a title game, behind the 2005 USC blowout 36-point victory against Oklahoma. These are the stats that I wanted to bring up to show you the differences between Alabama and Clemson. Clemson is overall a better team than Alabama. Let's just call it what it is. I already bring up the stats that are much different between Alabama and Clemson. Now, do I think that Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide will come back next season? Of course I do. They always come back. But I will also tell you guys this. I don't know if the next season will be the same as the 2018 season. I really don't. Now, Clemson has the best odds of winning the next national title, followed by Alabama, having the second best odds of winning the next national championship. But with Dabo Swinney and the Clemson Tigers being the two-time national champions in the last 3 years, I don't know if Alabama will continue. I don't think Alabama will continue to be consistently on top of the college football world any longer. Because a new era is arriving, and that is the Dabo Swinney Clemson era. And the Nick Saban Alabama era is slowly but surely coming to an end. It's not going to last much longer. I would say about 3 to 4 years in the future, the Nick Saban Alabama era will come to an end when Nick Saban announces his retirement from coaching in college football, and Dabo Swinney and the Clemson Tigers replace Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide as the new kings of college football before all is said and done. And one last thing before I finish this episode. Does this game make me want to come back and watch 100% of college football? Hell no. Because I'm still not watching college football as a whole. Because the competition is dead. The competition within college football is dead. It's been killed off by Alabama's dominance against all the other weak-ass teams that they had to play against. This is just the first step of me coming back to watch college football in its entirety. It's just the first game to do that, to me. Now I will say that the only thing that will get me back to watch college football in its entirety again is if Alabama has 2 losses in the next season. That's the only thing that will get me back to watch college football again. Because I don't want to watch college football games and still feel like there was no competition within it because of Alabama's dominance. I don't want that. I want competition to come back to college football from the grave and be exciting and intense and electrifying and fast-paced instead of being sucked out of it by Alabama completely obliterating everybody. Almost everybody. Make college football competition great again. Or make a CFP competition great again. That's the hashtag I'm going to be using from here on out. Hashtag make a CFP competition great again. It's that simple. And no, this hashtag is not a reference to Donald Trump, even though it does sound like it is. It's not associated with Donald Trump having the tagline, "Make America Great Again." No, it's not related to that at all. It's that simple. Us college football fans, we need competition. I need competition. I need it back. And Alabama is doing the opposite of that by ruining it. By beating up weak teams that they had to go up against in the last decade. SEC is not a great conference. It's not as great of a conference as people are making it out to be. I mean, did you see their bowl record this year? Their bowl record in their 2018 bowl postseason bowl record is 6-6. You got 6 SEC teams won, and you got the other 6 SEC teams winning or losing. You have 6 that won and 6 that lost in bowl games. The SEC is not that great this year. It's really not. Let's just call it as it is. It's not the greatest conference in college football. It's not. It hasn't been. The ACC, I could make a legitimate argument that the ACC is better than the SEC. It has a better competition in it than the SEC does. I can make the argument that the ACC is better than the Big Ten. I can make the argument that the ACC is better than the Big 12. And I certainly would, definitely, without hesitation, make an argument that the ACC is certainly leaps and bounds better than the Pac-12. It really is. The ACC is better than the Pac-12. Let's just call it as it is. The real best conference in college football is the ACC. You got Syracuse. You got NC State. You got Virginia Tech, even though they didn't do so well this season. But early on this season, they were pretty good. They whooped my Florida State Seminoles in the season opening game. And you got other teams in the ACC that play better than the SEC teams, or Big Ten teams, or Big 12 teams, or especially Pac-12 teams. Let's just call it as it is. It's better. I don't care what anybody says about the SEC. But anyway, moving away from which conference is better better than the other. I really want competition to come back to college football from the grave. I really do. And Alabama is keeping that competition in a grave. It really is. It has continued to suck it out of the college football world. And that's the reason, along with the Alabama's last national championship win, that made me want to stop watching college football in its entirety. Alabama is the reason why I stopped watching college football, because they have continuously ruined the competition in college football. It's just and no one has been a big Alabama hater than I am. No one is a bigger hater of the Alabama Crimson Tide than I am. Not even Auburn fans. I know that their team is the in-state arch rivals to the Alabama Crimson Tide. I know that. And fans of Auburn, they hate Alabama with every fiber of their beings. I get all that. But not even Auburn fans' hatred for Alabama is easily comparable to mine. I can't stand Alabama. I really can't. I understand how great they are. I know how great they are. I know how great Nick Saban is as a head coach. 6 national championship wins. I can't argue with that. He's arguably one of the greatest coaches in college football history, if not the greatest. I can't argue with that. But something needs to be changed. Another team needs to be crowned as the new kings of college football besides Alabama. Another team should be having a shot of winning all national titles besides Alabama. Because I have a very strong feeling that they will not be on top of the college football world for much longer. Like I said earlier. I really don't think it will last much longer. 3 to 4 years in the future, I would say, until their reign of terror ends. And it will be someone else. Like Dabo Swinney and the Clemson Tigers. They'll be replacing Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide as the new face of college football. After the next 3 to 4 years. It is what it is. But again, I still won't be watching college football until Alabama is no longer on top. Because I am sick and tired of Alabama dominantly taking the competition out of college football by beating so many weak teams that they have faced over the last decade. I'm sick of it. And I stopped watching college football in its entirety because of that. Hashtag make CFP competition great again. Make it great again. It has to happen. The only way that can happen is if Alabama has 2 losses in each of their regular seasons from here on out. That's the only thing that will get me back to watching college football, because I don't want, like I said earlier, I don't want to have to watch so many college football games and still feel like the competition is out of it because of Alabama's dominance. I don't want that. I really don't. It just is what it is. I will not watch it again until Alabama is no longer on top, because I'm sick of Alabama. I really am. I can't stand them. Their fan base, a majority of them at the very least, I cannot stand. They just make me sick. They are one of the most disgusting, nauseating fan bases I have ever seen, period, and faced. They're right alongside Dallas Cowboys fans to me. And possibly New England Patriots fans, I would say. But the Alabama Crimson Tide fans, to me, are the worst fan base in American history of sports. They really are, to me, in my opinion. But anyway, guys, that is my reaction to Clemson's dominant victory in the college football playoff national championship against Nick Saban in Alabama, 44-16. This was a very dominant win. I did not see the beatdown coming. It was unbelievable. But congratulations to Dabo Swinney and the Clemson Tigers. They deserve it. They deserve to win their second national championship win in their last 3 seasons. They truly deserve it. They deserve all the credit in the world for what they did to Alabama. They really do. I'm really proud of Dabo Swinney, and I love him. I am such a big fan of his, even though I'm a Florida State Seminoles fan, and he's the head coach for the Clemson Tigers. But all that is for another day. That's a different subject for another day. Congrats to them. They deserve it. So, yeah, that's it. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please click the like button and comment down below to let me know what your reactions to this game is and what it was like watching that game, watching Clemson beat down Alabama like that. Were you just surprised as I am about the large margin of it, or are you just surprised for different reasons? Let me know in the comments section below. And if you enjoy what you've seen here and you want to see future episodes from me, please press the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so that you never miss a video. And I will see you guys in the next episode of LBFT. Have a great week, Battle Squad. And as always, fight the good fight.